Morning, everybody. Thanks.
Thanks, everyone, for being here. We'll have Dan Hilferty kick us off here.
Great. Morning, everybody. I hope you had a great summer. And just on behalf of Jonesy and I want to thank you for all the work you do and following the Flyers and reporting on everything we do. It's appreciated. Just from my perspective, it seems like yesterday we were sitting here. We were in opposite seats, though. But
Yep.
A lot has happened since then. I think the consistent thing for me is that we said this rebuild is about a patient approach, growing it through the draft, making sure that we don't jump ahead of ourselves, that we get our cap space in a good place. But I sit here a year later and say that I feel really good about where we're headed. This patient approach is working. Excited about Coach Tocchet coming in, and feel really good that we're going to have a successful year. How we define successful year, how I define successful year, consistent with last year, is not necessarily the playoffs, although that would be great as a fan, the fan in me, but just see improvement throughout the year in our younger players and that competitive edge continue to grow. But all in all, we're excited about the season and happy to answer any questions. Jonesy?
Yeah, I would agree with Dan on all of that. I'm really excited to get things started this year. It feels a little bit different from the first 2 years. Starting to progress. Our players are continuing to move forward, and we're doing everything we can to ensure that continues to happen. Feel really good about where Danny has the team now and for the future. And I like the way the plan is coming together, but I also appreciate how honest Danny has been with you guys and kind of laying out the plan and then sticking to it. Some of that is by design. Sometimes you need a little bit of luck along the way too. And so far things are working out the right way. So to grind away and try to
Think of the strength of the league, the cap space continuing to go up. We felt like we were behind the 8 ball, not having any space at all. Now, as we look forward, you like to say, Jonesy, that we're not about moving things out. We're about growing now and building this thing, and that's an exciting place to be, especially as, again, the cap continues and we have some room to maneuver.
Yep.
So it's open to you guys.
Keith, I guess
Yep.
first question towards you. Obviously, you added this summer, you made moves to try to improve the team. Why was this summer the time to start pivoting and start trying to get better?
Yeah, I think we owed that to our players that are here. They've done everything that we've asked of them. We've moved out a lot of their friends. We've, taken away players at a time when other teams are building to try to make a playoff run. We've continued to accumulate assets to try to help us in the future. And a lot of our top players have been patient with that. So I do think that played into it. And really, we're just in a better position to be able to move forward. So a lot of things go into that. But I think our execution so far has been solid. And I'm really looking forward to seeing the next steps come into play.
What would some of those things be, maybe more specifically, that gives you confidence that the moves you made this summer will measurably?
Well, we're a deeper team. There's way more options for our coaching staff. And at the trade deadline, just as an easy example, we're not going to be giving away our players to gain future assets. That's, unless there was something crazy that happened. But that's the plan as we sit here today.
Question on Carter Hart. If Carter Hart is reinstated, will you guys make a move and inquire about him, or what's your feeling on that?
Well, at this point, we're going to make no comment on that situation. The NHL's made it clear they'll speak first, but right now we're not prepared to comment at all about the Carter Hart situation.
Are you even allowed to talk to him right now, or not?
The NHL has told us they're running the show.
This question's for Jonesy. Obviously, 2 years ago, you guys came pretty close to making the playoffs. You get to Game 82. How concerned organizationally are you that last year was a step back in terms of performance?
Not at all. I do believe the year before we felt pretty good about our team going into that season, but we recognized that we needed to, be more flexible in the future. And I think that's what led to some of the selling off at the trade deadline. Just, Sean Walker comes to mind when I think back to that time. Last year was kind of a steady type of progression up until the trade deadline. It was clearer that that's the way we had to go last year. It was easier in that regard. But recognizing what was on the horizon made us feel pretty good about things. And I think the execution of the draft is another very important step for us. We've had a couple of, actually with Danny in charge, I guess it's 3 drafts now, and feel really good about the accumulation of talent. Not just assets, there's some talented players that are coming. And I think that's going to help us as far as building that foundation from our younger players advancing and some of our top young guys that have been in the NHL for a few years now in a position to really take on roles of leadership and help us continue to advance to becoming a team that's going to be, eventually a playoff team on a regular basis, which is not an easy thing to do in this league.
Which of your veteran players do you think need to take that step?
So the ones that I comfortably predict will are players like Tyson Forrester, Noah Cates. I think both of those guys showed a lot. Bobby Brink continues to become a better player. Konechny's been there. He's done that. Sanheim has developed into not just a very good player for us, but a real leader on the back end. I really appreciate his development and this commitment to the team. I'm looking for really solid contributions from Cam York. I think his game will come back into a place that it was 2 years ago. I think the last year wasn't a great year for him, but I do believe that he's going to be a big part of our blue line as well. And then I'm a big believer in Sam Ersson. I think that Sam is in a position now, age-wise, and being pushed by, the depth at that position that's there now is going to benefit him as well. So I think that Sam is going to stand up to the test here this year.
Keith, going back to what you said a few minutes ago about last year's regression in terms of standings, that it's not that concerning to you because where you see the team going, where you see the organization going. Is it fair to say that if that were to happen again this year, that you maybe wouldn't be as forgiving as maybe?
Yeah, no, that would be disappointing. Yeah. So we definitely want to continue to take steps forward. I believe that we will. And I think we're going to do everything we can to make sure that happens. So in the previous 2 years, we would be quick to make changes in order to get better for the future. Now it would be about staying on course now, which is advancing. It's not about moving back.
And Charlie, the fan in me would be disappointed as well. I mean, it's last year was a real learning experience for me. I guess coming from the business world, I just assume you get on a track and you continue to go up, but that's not the way this game or any professional sports works. But I agree with everything that Jonesy just said.
Dan, I was going to ask, it's been 5 years since Trout. How do you balance wanting to stay patient and stay the course, but also trying to understand that some fans are maybe itching to get back into things?
Well, Jordan, the way I look at it, it's again, as the fan, you want every year to compete, to get into the playoffs. You want fans to get excited. You want to sell tickets. You want people in the arena. The way I look at this, and certainly the stage in my career, the relationship with the Comcast parent, Brian Roberts, we agree. Keith agrees, Danny agrees that we're going to just take our time and do this the right way. Point being, there's no pressure from me in my role or from an ownership perspective beyond me to say we need to do something drastic, dramatic, because we need to have a better shot at the playoffs. This is about that steady growth, building the number of young players that are coming up through the system, making sure positionally we're doing the right things, bringing the coaching staff in, starting with Talk, that we think can really continue to develop these players. We're gonna wait this out. Now, I'm not getting any younger, but at the same time, we're going to do this at a pace that what I like to say, and said this to the players the other day, we want to build a culture of sustainable excellence. not just a shot next year and then it falls off after. So there's there's fan time pressure, but there's no pressure from the perspective of it's got to be this year or next year. When we do it, you'll see it. I hope you're beginning to see it, but the results will be there, and it'll be our goal to sustain that for years to come.
Keith, you were a contemporary of Rick when his playing days,
Yeah.
Danny as well. Will you be reaching out to him to kind of get his input on player development, transactions, and so forth?
Yeah, not a lot. Coach is coach. So, but obviously, if he has an experience with somebody, yes. Like you talk to everybody you can before you go out and make a transaction to add somebody. It'd be foolish not to. But his number one priority will be to coach this team.
Is there any more update on Tyson's arm?
I know he's doing well, so that's the great news there. But I'll leave that for Danny when he talks. I think he'll talk next week probably. But yeah, Tyson's on pace to be there for us when the season starts. But Danny will get more into it.
Keith, talk about in the past couple of years how when you get to a certain point and if the team's at a certain spot, you kind of know that you have to look at the future,
Yes.
right? And you're not doing that this year.
Yeah.
But how do you get the buy-in from the players if they go through a bad stretch of
Yeah.
games to let them know?
Yeah, you just communicate it to him. I mean, that's the great thing about Danny playing the game. Fortunately, I did, and again, Hilf's around, sending that message to the players where they have a certain amount of trust that what we're doing is in their best interest, and you just have to talk to them about it. It's not that complicated. It's really just about being in it together, working together from the top all the way down through the entire team to make sure that we get it right. And that's the plan. Our plan is to get it right for our fans, number one, and to make sure that we communicate with our players constantly on where we're headed. And I believe that will work.
How would you evaluate Danny's performance so far, and what have you maybe learned about him 2 years into this that maybe you didn't know when you guys
Yeah,
became-
I think both Hilf and I are very impressed by Danny. He is an extremely intelligent, dedicated person with his job. Methodical, thoughtful, sharing in the way that he does things, not just with us, but with our Flyer community, with you guys as well. He deals from a position of honesty and has a really good plan in place that he has so far executed very well. So I'm extremely happy with Danny.
And Kev, I would agree with that. His attention to detail and his willingness to allow analytics come into his thinking, along with the eye test, is very impressive. And I agree from a communications point of view, he's been terrific.
Some regression in last year. Do you feel any of that at all is from the team was kind of worn out at all by Torts?
Well, first of all, if we can go back to all the things I said about Torts since I've been here, and I have a great deal of respect for Torts as a person and as a coach. I think everything he did here can be viewed as foundational to what we're trying to build. And part of that was an expectation that players would be in the best shape they could be in, would compete every second on the ice. And I think that's something, you've told me this consistently, Jonesy, that this will pay off for these players later, having played for John Tortorella. And so we're grateful for that. I can't speak to that last year. I think there were a lot of factors. The one thing he did say to me at the beginning of last year is the third year's sometimes hard, for maybe the reason you said. The players are hearing the same thing over and over again. But I have nothing but great things to say about the job that Torts did, and can't answer whether that impacted the slide from the year before last year.
Dan, I respect everything that everybody here has done. However, when you opened this up, you said success is not the playoffs. How can you explain that to fans, which is what they crave? Flyers fans, that's what they crave. How do you explain that to people, that success is not the playoffs?
So Howard, here's how I look at it. I've started every public conversation I've had. As a fan, Last year I was disappointed we didn't make the playoffs. The year before I was disappointed we didn't make the playoffs, and the year before that, although I got here too late. So as that fan, a true Philly fan, I want nothing more to compete for the playoffs, and we're doing everything we can. I think the point that Jonesy made about now we're adding, and you only add when you think you have a shot to be in the playoff conversation. So what I'm saying is, with this long process, this rebuild that we agree we're going to do in a thoughtful and constructive way, bringing young players in and adding other players, it might mean the playoffs, but all I know, we're gonna come together as a group at the end of the season and say, okay, did the players you mentioned, did they continue to improve? Do we feel we are beginning to get the pieces we need to have that sustainable team, a sustainable level of excellence that leads to playoffs year after year after year?
And from the business side of things, how do you feel like the organization is doing? I know, I'm sure no playoffs is tough, but do you feel like people have been, and fans are buying into what's going on here?
Well, I think the best way to look at that, Jordan, is the season ticket sales. And for the second straight year, we have 90% renewal rate. And we've already sold the end of year number that we had last season. So I think it's since 2018. This is the first sustainable growth we've seen in season tickets. The new naming rights to the arena, obviously, it was a partner that was interested in having their name on the arena, but you're going to hear announcements around several other corporate sponsors that show this renewal, this rekindling of excitement about what we're doing. But obviously winning cures all in some respects, and as the team does better, the arena will continue to be filled. I think we'll have this coming year average about 18,000 tickets out for every game. Doesn't mean they'll all be there. So from a franchise point of view, from a business perspective, we're thrilled with where we are. We're thrilled with the not only the players, the coaches, the management side, and we just see a real opportunity. If you look at the Forbes valuation of franchises, we continue to be in that 6-7 level, and our value continues to go up. Now, part of that is the rising tides of the NHL. All ships rise with the tides, but it's also that we're paying attention to really having an open communication with fans and business partners alike, and they've been successful conversations, and where we are today, I feel really good about it.
Dan, you mentioned about the new name of the arena, but obviously you guys are in the process of going down the road of building a new arena. Do you have an idea of what the future is, I guess, now for the Xfinity Mobile Arena, the newly named arena? Is that going to stick around? Has nothing been finalized?
Well, there's nothing been finalized about that at this point, Joe. I think, historically, though, you look at when this arena was built and the Spectrum was still here, the whole point is that is there a need for two arenas? But no final decision has been made. I think what the whole Xfinity Mobile Arena and Comcast perspective is that this is a great opportunity for us to market Xfinity Mobile as part of the Flyers and the 76ers work on the court and on the ice. In terms of long term, our hope is to build an arena by the early 2030s, and we are so excited about. After all the discussion back and forth that both the Sixers and the Flyers and a WNBA team will play in one arena in South Philadelphia, and the goal is to build the best arena in the world. And I've heard that from everybody on both sides of the partnership. David Edelman's doing a terrific job of leading us through that. But for the foreseeable future, we're going to continue to make the fan experience at Xfinity Mobile the best that it can be, from Wi-Fi capabilities and other technologies that will really tell the story. But for the interim period, whatever that is, 4, 5, 6 years, Xfinity Mobile and Comcast are very excited to be part of this.
A couple more here.
How did the arrival and the development and the play of Mishkov affect the timeline? I know that a year and a half ago, you didn't know what was going to happen.
Yeah.
But he came, he played great. And are you ahead of where you thought you would be?
There's no doubt that it helps Marcus. It helps in the the Flyer fan community as well. He's a very excitable player to watch. He embraces trying to be the best. It's an interesting thing to watch him operate. So we're really excited, obviously, that he's here. He's going into year 2. So that's always another challenge for young players that got their first taste of the National Hockey League. But he is a driven type of personality that wants to be a star in this league, and we really appreciate what he brings. So yeah, he does help us, get to a point where we continue to advance maybe a little bit earlier because he's here. And we need to help and add players to that mix.
It's interesting that you approach him not as just a very accomplished player, but a guy that maybe can connect you with the community a little bit. And you look at the football team, look at the basketball team, the baseball team. They kind of have those guys. And do you hope that he becomes yours?
Yeah, no, he becomes one of them for sure. I do think that's important, and I think back to the days, when the Flyers were, sending out Lindros and LeClaire, and then
Jones.
prior to the salary cap, was pretty good.
Thank you.
Prior to the salary cap, it was often a way that this team would go about continuing to keep fan interest would be adding a star player, maybe a former superstar player that would keep people excited. The JR when he showed up, Forsberg when he came around. Obviously, you can't do that anymore, so you have to internally develop your stars or get very fortunate that a free agent gets to free agency in this game, which is becoming more difficult. So, to have somebody like Matt Fay to continue to push and, hopefully become one of those superstar talents is certainly exciting for us. Martone has some of those similarities as well. The more of those players you have, the more interest that there is, and stars do sell in Philadelphia.
You mentioned about stars selling, and you need those guys at the top of the lineup. That said, the two guys who probably under 22 that have the highest potential in the organization are Mishkov and Martone.
Yeah.
What's your degree of concern that both of them are wingers? That none of them
Yeah.
play the center position, the defense position, the goalie position that are generally viewed to be the premier positions when you're building a cup contender?
Yeah, I'm happy that we have them. If there was, stars at those superstar potential players at those positions when we drafted, then of course you're having a different discussion. But I'm just really excited about what they bring. And to me, if you look at Kucherov, he's a winger. Yeah, I'll take him any day. You know what I mean? Like, he's a superstar. So yeah, whenever you can get those type of talents, you take them. And obviously, you want to add pieces around to make sure that they complement them, and a very good young center iceman coming up would certainly be something that we're always going to be looking for. We feel like we have a couple in our system now, but they're going to take time to develop. So we'll be patient.
The one persistent problem over the 2 years has obviously been the goaltending, right? And I know,
Yep.
your first season, part of that was out of your control, but you could also make the case that maybe something you could have made a move to stabilize that and maybe make the playoffs. Last year it didn't work with Fedotov and Kolosov. I guess it's a two-part question. One, in hindsight, were there some mistakes made when it comes to the goaltending, and how do you view the goaltending now and moving forward in the system?
Yeah, I don't know that there were mistakes made. I think we brought in players that have been drafted by the organization to give them an opportunity. I think there was adjustments that we hoped would occur. Their ability to adjust would occur quicker than it did. I wouldn't write off either guy in Fedotov or Kolosov. Kolosov's obviously younger and is an extremely athletic goaltender. If he can put all the pieces together in the future, he could turn into a very good goaltender. So, he'll be here. Yeah, that's and we're excited about that too. So he has an opportunity, just like everybody else, to come in and show what he has. Developmentally, I think we would prefer that last year we spent a little more time in the American Hockey League. It just was not in the cards. So I wouldn't do it differently, but I'm excited about the depth that we have. And Dan Vladar is somebody that we targeted, and we're very happy that he's part of the mix. And then the other guys are going to have to, really show that they have the ability to get there again. So we'll see how it plays out.
So Jonesy, I have one question for you. Am I allowed to do that one? Sorry.
I don't know.
What for you would add up to a successful season?
Yeah, continued growth for sure. Players continuing to advance, our team being better. And I feel very confident that we will be. I'm just really excited to see the group of players that we have. I'm excited about our young players that continue to push. There's going to be a lot more competition in camp than there has been previously. When you watch the players that you've been a part of drafting start to grow and get better, it's exciting. So I'm really looking forward to seeing some of these guys get into the mix and push our veteran players to be better.
Thank you, Dan. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys. Thanks, everybody.
What do you got, Sammy?